Welcome to Things Around 8. Dear friends, in this video we will talk about Russian guided glide bombs, a type of weapon against which Ukraine has no defense. And if you are not yet subscribed to the channel, subscribe now and activate the notification bells so you don't miss any news. On Monday, June 24th, Lieutenant General Ivan Avrilyuk, Ukraine's first deputy defense minister, announced an alarming fact. Every day, Russia drops an average of 100 guided glide bombs on Ukrainian cities and positions. According to Avrilyuk, the main type is 250 and 500 kilogram bombs, but he indicated a large increase in the use of 1.5-ton bombs, with the Kremlin recently reporting that, for the first time in the war, 3-ton guided glide bombs were used. But why does this type of bomb worry Ukraine so much, and how could Kiev defend itself against this new threat? The bomb that is causing so much concern in Ukraine is not exactly new, and in fact, it began to be produced in 1954. It is the FAB, a general-purpose bomb that the Soviet Union developed to be launched from fighters and bombers. Since Russia is using these bombs primarily against Kharkiv, which is only 25 kilometers from the Russian border, Russian aircraft can drop them 40 or 50 kilometers from the Ukrainian border. But since the Patriot, which is the only Ukrainian defense system with sufficient range, is dedicated to defending targets deeper into Ukraine, Russian aircraft can basically fly completely unconcerned, dropping their bombs without fear of any Ukrainian attempt to intercept them. Therefore, the only way for Ukraine to defend itself against these bombs is by deploying fighters armed with long-range AR missiles, a capability that the Ukrainians will have only when F-16 fighters start arriving in sufficient numbers. When that finally happens, with estimates pointing to July or August of this year, then Ukraine will be able to keep Russian aircraft far enough away to make it impossible for them to drop these bombs. But until then, Russian glide bombs will remain the biggest and most formidable challenge for Ukraine in the current phase of the conflict. It is an unguided, free-fall bomb with very little precision, especially if launched from high altitudes. So how is it that such an old and rudimentary bomb is causing so many headaches in Ukraine, to the point that Kiev has classified it as the greatest Russian threat in the current phase of the war? The problem is not the bomb itself, but rather the kit that the Russians developed and installed on the bomb. It is the UMPK, an acronym for Unified Glide and Correction Module. It is basically a kit very similar to the JDAM, which the United States has used since the 1990s. It consists of retractable wings that are attached to the bomb by means of metal straps, with a satellite positioning module attached. This module, typically GLONASS, the Russian version of GPS, guides the bomb towards its target, with course corrections being made by the wings attached to the bomb. The kit can be easily installed on the 4 main models of Russian general-purpose bombs. These are the FAB 250, weighing 250 kilograms, FAB 500, weighing 500 kilograms, FAB 1500, weighing 1.5 tons, and the FAB 3000, weighing 3 tons. The range varies greatly depending on a number of variables, such as the weight of the bomb and the speed, altitude, and angle of the aircraft at the time of its release. As it is still a free-fall bomb, the bomb simply glides after being released. This means that to reach long distances, it needs to be dropped at the highest possible altitude and speed, with sources stating that the FAB 250, the lightest of all, if launched at an altitude of 11 or 12,000 meters and at around 1,100 kilometers per hour, has a range of up to 75 kilometers. Since these bombs are relatively compact and do not emit heat after being launched, since they do not have engines, they are difficult to be detected by radars and infrared-guided defense systems, which means that, in practice, Ukraine has practically no means of defense against this type of weapon in its arsenal. Russia has obviously already realized this, and that is why Moscow has been increasing the frequency and intensity of attacks with these bombs, mainly against the Kharkiv region, which, as you know, has been under heavy Russian attacks since May 10th. Therefore, if these bombs are practically impossible for Ukraine to intercept after being launched, how will the Ukrainians be able to defend themselves? There is basically only one way, which is to intercept Russian aircraft before they drop their bombs. The big problem with this tactic is that Ukraine does not have air defenses with sufficient range to intercept these aircraft. Since Russia is using these bombs primarily against Kharkiv, which is only 25 kilometers from the Russian border, Russian aircraft can drop them 40 or 50 kilometers from the Ukrainian border. But since the Patriot, which is the only Ukrainian defense system with sufficient range, is dedicated to defending targets deeper into Ukraine, Russian aircraft can basically fly completely unconcerned, dropping their bombs without fear of any Ukrainian attempt to intercept them. And if you are not yet subscribed to the channel, subscribe now and activate the notification bells so you don't miss any news.